Deputy White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders now reinforcing President Trump's call for an investigation into former President Obama and his administration. So where does it go now? House Intelligence Committee member Trey Gowdy is with me. He says it's already happening. Sir, good morning to you. So our viewers know you met with the FBI director last week, correct?
Yes, sir. Thursday, House Intel behind closed doors for several hours, and he stayed later than he was designed to stay to answer more of our questions.
Wow. How much of that can you share with us and our audience now, then?
Exactly what I shared, that he came, that he answered our questions, and that he stayed a good long while. But
so
there's a reason we do it behind closed doors.
I get it. There was no knowledge of what the president tweeted on Saturday morning about the Obama team surveilling Trump Tower.
First I heard it was Saturday morning.
And what did you think when you heard that, sir?
Bill, it's really hard to cross-examine tweets. I need witnesses. I need documents. There are only two ways U.S. citizens' electronic communications can be intercepted. One's Title III, which is a criminal inquiry. The other is FISA, which is an intelligence inquiry. There is no other way for it lawfully to be done. The good news about both of those, Bill, is there's a paper trail. There's an application, there are warrants, all of which can be reviewed. And right now, the executive branch is controlled not by the Obama administration, but by the Trump administration. So whatever information is out there, and there would be a paper trail, is now controlled by the executive branch run by Mr. Trump.
We've got reaction on all this. Adam Schiff, first up, a Democrat on that committee. You know, you work with him well. He called the accusation on Sunday destructive. The other word he used was baseless. What does he know?
He doesn't know any more than I know, and I'm sure Adam used to be a federal prosecutor. I'm sure what he meant to say was we need to interview all of the witnesses, we need to access all of the documents, and we're going to wait to make any conclusions until we have done both of those things. I'm sure that's what he meant to say.
He did not say that, as you know.
No, he did not say that.
Bob Woodward said this on Fox News Sunday about the House's ability to investigate. Watch.
Congress also is not very well equipped to do this. They've had some flops in recent investigations. So the quality of information, of evidence we're liable to get is going to be weak. I have to recall Watergate went on for 2 years and 2 months to get some sort of closure and clarity.
Well, we're not going that far, but what do you think about his comment about the amount of information, the quality of evidence, et cetera?
I think Congress is much better equipped to do investigations than journalists are. We can't rely on anonymous sources. We can't rely on leaked information, classified information, which in and of itself is a crime. So with all due respect to the reporters, I can't cross-examine anonymous sources. You can't even directly examine them. It's a lot easier to write a news piece than it is to conduct an investigation. What Congress needs is access to the witnesses, access to the documents, and to understand we don't run parallel criminal investigations. We have a job to do, but it is not to investigate crime.
Have you seen evidence that the Obama team did surveillance at Trump Tower?
No, sir.
Have you seen evidence that the Trump team colluded with the Russians during the election last year?
No, sir, and reports to the contrary have been described as demonstrably false to me by people who would know.
Jason Chaffetz, your colleague, said last hour the Obama team is notorious for this, suggesting notorious for spying. What can you add to that?
Nothing. I don't view it as the Obama team. I don't think the FBI is the Obama team, and I don't think the men and women who are career prosecutors at DOJ belong to any team other than a blindfolded woman holding a set of scales. We have certain tools that this country needs to keep us safe. And it is great and wise and prudent and legal for those tools to be used lawfully and appropriately. If they're not used lawfully and appropriately, there is a paper trail, and we will be able to find it out. The Obama team is no longer in charge. So any information that the current Department of Justice has that suggests the previous Department of Justice acted inappropriately, they are welcome to release it.
Sir, thank you for your time. Back home in Greenville, South Carolina.
Yes, sir.
More to come. Trey Gowdy, thank you.
Joining us now, talk about all these issues, one of our favorites, Congressman Trey Gowdy from the great state of South Carolina. Congressman, great to talk to you. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Laura?
I'm hanging in there. What a wild weekend. I always think Sunday's supposed to be a day of rest, Congressman, but this is for the last 55 days or so, or I should say the last year and a half or so. It's been Sundays are usually work days for us because there's always something going on. What's your take so far on this issue with the charge by Trump that the president had ordered a wiretap on Trump Tower?
Well, I wish my wife had let me look at my phone during church yesterday. I would be farther along in this process, but I'm playing catch up because it all seemed to happen yesterday morning. There are two ways, Laura, you're a better lawyer than I am. You know this. There are two ways that government can lawfully intercept oral communications. One's a Title III, which is a criminal inquiry. The other is FISA, which is a kind of an intelligence inquiry. The good news is there's a paper trail, there's a warrant, there's an application, there's judicial review, and right now the Justice Department is not controlled by President Obama. It's controlled by Jeff Sessions. We can discuss his recusal, but nonetheless, Trump controls the executive branch. So if there is something there, and there should be under Title III or FISA, we should have access to the application and the paper trail, and we'll be able to answer the question.
Well, one of the things that is, to me, relevant is the way that people phrase their denials. So much of what we've heard over the last 24 hours, 48 hours, is that, including from FBI Director Comey, is that the Justice Department did not, he's trying to get Justice to come out to say the FBI did not order a wiretap of Donald Trump. But we know for a fact, Congressman, that the intelligence services routinely surveil foreign agents working in the United States just as part of their job. And you don't blame them, whether it's the Russian ambassador. They all know they're being watched all the time. And it could be either information is scooped up in that process, and they would say it just happens to be collateral. We found this out when we were surveilling Kriliak, or when perhaps that they were surveilling associates of Trump outside of the official transition or campaign who would visit Trump Tower, or maybe even use communications at Trump Tower. There's all sorts of ways this could happen, and I would assume if Donald Trump is tweeting about this, he must know something beyond just reading something in Breitbart.
I would hope, given the fact he's the leader of the free world, I'm not a big Twitter person. It's hard for me to analyze issues in 140 characters.
Yeah, me too.
You're right. He does have access to information the rest of us do not have. Your question, implicit in your question, is something that the media doesn't want to talk about, or some parts of the media, and the Democrats don't want to talk about, which is, you're right, there are methodologies of surveillance and collection that are indispensable, in my judgment, to our country's national security. And you're never supposed to know about those methodologies, and you're never supposed to know the content of some of those communications because they never even result in criminal prosecutions. We know what we know in large part now because of an unauthorized leak of classified information. And I can't get the Democrats interested worth a damn in talking about the leaks. So you and I should not be having the conversation because we should not know that there is a transcript of a conversation between Flynn and anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
He's an American citizen. There are minimization procedures. There are masking procedures. And the fact that we know about it, frankly, Laura, is going to jeopardize our ability to reauthorize some of these programs. I would just say to the New York Times and others, congratulations. You continue to rely on the leak of classified information, which is unlawful. You are jeopardizing that you are relying on.
We're talking to Congressman Trey Gowdy. We have another few minutes with him. Congressman, there's concern in conservative ranks about the Paul Ryan repeal and replace not being substantial enough, specifically in regard to the IPAB, otherwise known as the death panels, specifically about with the subsidies, the federal subsidies that Americans would get in order to buy health insurance. Rand Paul said that's just another, that's just more government money. One way or another, it's government money. What do you know so far? Because this is going to be the other big story of the week.
less than you do. As a washed-up former mediocre lawyer, I am on no committees of jurisdiction with respect to health care. And I have not been the beneficiary of a leaked draft. So I have no idea what Energy and Commerce is working on. I do believe at some point this week I'm going to have my first exposure to it. Laura, if you and I were starting all over again, we would have a much more transformative change to the delivery of health insurance and health care in this country. But we're a 50-50 country, and transformative change is difficult to achieve. So I do suspect the repeal piece will be less than what some conservatives would do if we were starting all over again. I say that. I haven't seen it. I may be very surprised. But there's very little conversation about personal responsibility. There's very little conversation about a shared citizenry and what we owe one another. What used to be conservative seems in some ways now to not be conservative. There's a blurring of lines. So I'm going to give them a chance to roll it out. I'm going to give them a chance to make the case. I'm going to give my friend Mark Meadows a chance to tell me why there's a better way. But I haven't seen any bill.